During quarantine, I've had a lot, and I mean a lot, of free time. And one of the ways I've spent this free time is by reminiscing on animated films. I wondered why I was so drawn to movies that were visually and contextually nothing alike. And through a little bit of soul searching and extreme boredom, I found out why. Let's start with the first. Whether you believe if it's an accurate portrayal or not of the story of Moses, Prince of Egypt is one of DreamWorks' most underrated films of all time. And not because of its amazingly overwhelming sense of musicality and artwork, but because of the mature atmosphere. We see two brothers pitted against each other because of their conflicting identities. On one hand, we have Ramses that has been told he could be the weak link, and so his drive to a greater-ish kingdom was ignited from a very young age. But Moses has no idea who he is. After discovering the atrocities that had taken place against the Hebrews, Moses is left confused and distraught. When Moses meets Jethro in the desert, it is through the song Heaven's Eyes that Moses understands that identity is by the reality of life and not by others and their mistakes.
So how can you see what your life is worth, or where your value lies? You can never see through the eyes of man.
Even as a kid, I never really hated Ramses. I never saw him as a truly hateful antagonist. I just pitied him for a person who never understood his own identity. Oh, wow. If there was ever a movie that did 3D animation justice, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse takes the cake.
Miles! Miles!
I mean, just look at it. Come on. Besides the quite literally stunning visuals, this movie has some of the most realistic dialogue I've ever heard.
It's okay. No one knows. No one knows. Everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Miles is awkward and relatable without trying to be. And when he's thrown into a crime-fighting world trying to be a hero he isn't, it's actually very sad. If you notice every other Spider-Man person thing, they all have their own traits. The suit Miles is trying to fit into is literally and figuratively not meant for him. But just like us sometimes, hearing the right words when we need it the most allows us to move on. For the first time, Miles focuses on himself and transforms into his own Spider-Man. This is one of the only hero movies where the audience feels as though they can become just like him, but only to be their own hero. I think Stan Lee said it the best.
You could be black, you could be Asian, you could be Indian, you could be anything, and imagine you were in that costume.
No, Kung Fu Panda is not up to par with the other two movies, in its animation or its script. But don't doubt for a second that it isn't a fantastic film. Today, for the purpose of this video, I will primarily be talking about the second movie of the trilogy. In the first one, we see Po accept his role as Dragon Warrior. So what more character growth is there? The second movie truly shows us how important growth is. One of DreamWorks' most evil villains, Lord Shen, commits an actual genocide. Yes, this children's movie includes the mass annihilation of an entire race of pandas. In the second movie, Po often wrestles with his emotions alone. He's always seen as the comical relief, despite being the main protagonist. And I believe this is even how he sees himself, even after becoming the Dragon Warrior.
The thing that matters is what you choose to be now.
Po's journey to inner peace took time, but when he was able to let his emotions and pain flow, only then was he able to defeat Shen, who, unlike Po, never met his acceptance. Okay, in all honesty, you got me. I've covered all my parts. I just wanted to make this. But how could I not include the masterpiece that is Spirited Away? From the 2D artwork to the multiple layers of themes and each one having its own depth to the beautiful composition in its music. Thank you so much, Joe Hisaishi and Hayao Miyazaki. This cinematic wonder includes all the points I've talked about with the most natural pacing I've ever seen. The audience feels like this journey is also theirs. We learn things just as the main character Chihiro does. Unlike Spider-Man, where we had some kind of knowledge of the story in mind, this world, just as many in the Studio Ghibli universe, is completely unpredictable. Chihiro loses her parents and is thrust into a world of monsters. In order to stay alive, she must work, but in order to return to reality, she must remember her identity. In the beginning, Chihiro is scared and almost annoying, but towards the end, she's fearless and very polite. Chihiro not only had her name changed, but her parents turned to pigs. She knows both her name and her parents at the most needed times. This story is not only about Chihiro, but of her friend Haku and No Face, who struggles with their identity as well. This isn't a story of a kid who gets a job and goes through a fantasy wonderland. This is a story of growth, of finding identity, of keeping your identity and moving past what you've had. Chihiro, although very sad, adapts to her new environment, and in that way, she can then save herself and her family. All of these movies bring to life diverse cultures and animations. Combine that with the idea that these themes are more than just what you'd expect from a children's movie and bring a certain level of maturity, and you get the reason why I love these films so much. At this point in my life, I'm constantly worried about growth and identity, but movies like these, even at 18 years old, bring me comfort. So thank you.